Trump's lawyers are asking for more time again in his Washington, D.C. case in front of Judge Tanya Chutkan against the United States of America, who's being prosecuted for trying to steal an election. And he wants more time to file his briefs, again, his replies. And look, he filed a bunch of motions, I think 4 or 5 of them raising all sorts of grounds, constitutional and otherwise. He made double jeopardy claims, First Amendment claims, presidential immunity claims, and he got around his page limit requirement because there are local rules saying you can only file something a certain number of pages. This becomes relevant in a minute, which is why I'm explaining it. And by filing them as individual motions, so he could have motions that were 40 pages long each. And so this just massive amount of motion practice, some quite substantive, actually. I think 1 or 2 of them, I'm concerned that the Supreme Court might actually listen to and potentially even make some mischief or more in this particular case and say things like, presidents have immunity from criminal prosecution, and they should be only prosecuted by indictment. By Congress, right? Through the impeachment process, they could say that, or they could say, look, he was already impeached for this and acquitted by the Senate, and so therefore double jeopardy applies. I don't think the law is correct in that regard, but you have a Supreme Court that is very much appointed by Trump, many of them, the majority, and who have taken some positions that I don't agree with. So who knows what's going to end up happening. But he asked for more time because he filed these motions. Jack Smith then replied, the special counsel's office replied to these motions, and he says he wants more time to actually, so it goes, you file your motions, then the other side responds, and then the side that files the motion then seeks to reply to the response. That's the actual language. So his reply briefs that he's seeking to have more time to do, that tells you it's the third step, right? It's you got the motion that was filed, the other side responds, and then there's a reply. And then if the other side wants to reply to your reply, that's called a surreply. So those are the legal terms, how you know what stage the motion practice you're in. Anyhow, so these motions that he made on constitutional grounds, selective prosecution, immunity, etc., the court previously set a deadline of October 23rd for him to file his motions, which he did. Okay, and he also filed another motion to strike inflammatory language from the indictment. I guess because Jack Smith talked about January 6th, but he's not charged with that. He wants that out, but there's no way that comes out because that's very much part and parcel of everything that happened. It goes to his intent, the fact that he didn't call off any people who were storming the Capitol and causing violence, I think very much goes to his motive and his intent here in this particular case, to really what's in his mind and his mindset about whether or not he was trying to steal an election. And so the government filed their responses. Well, Trump's lawyers basically said, and the government's oversized omnibus response, okay? Like he called the government's response to his 5 motions an oversized omnibus response, okay? But Trump's newest replies to this government's oversized omnibus response, what he's talking about, is due November 13th. Okay, and some are due the 16th, but all due the week of the 13th. And he's also appealing his gag order, don't forget, that's currently stayed in the DC circuit. And so because there are 6 briefs all due roughly the same time, and the DC circuit has expedited briefing, he's basically saying, can I please have more time? Frankly, this is a problem of his own making. He's the one who's filing all these motions, and the judge took that into consideration when she made a decision about when things were due, but they're the ones filing all these motions. It's not, and yes, he has a lot of court cases, but he should be able to meet his deadlines. And then he cites to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 45B1 that basically says that with good cause shown, a judge can extend a deadline. They ask for 11 days. That won't prejudice anything, and it won't extend any other deadline. So can you please, please, please do this? Look, I think the court absolutely will do this. At least when I was reading this, I said, for sure the court's going to do this. And of course the court did, because the judge's decision just came out. But the government opposed the motion and said, look, the defendant keeps asking for extensions for deadlines for filing motions. This isn't the first time. And he doesn't establish good cause for any of the extensions. And so he should have to do that. And then the government gives them, special counsel gives them a little zinger and says, look, saying that the government filed a, quote, oversized 64-page omnibus response to his 65 pages worth of motions to dismiss based on constitutional and statutory grounds, wrongly implying that the government's single organized opposition imposes some greater burden on him than the two separate 45-page filings the government was entitled to file under the local rules. So basically he's like, don't say that this is oversized. The local rules could have given us the opportunity to file 90 pages worth, 45 pages each, but we did 64 pages to your 65 pages. It's not oversized. It's the same thing you did. So it's a little bit misleading, and they kind of call him out on it because they just have this way of being over exaggerating, not truthful, etc. But so the defendant also asked for an extension to his November 5th. So this is the other thing I love. He says, the government says, look, the defendant also is asking for an extension to November 15th. But his reply isn't due until November 16th. So why is he asking for that? And that's 10 days away from the government having to file their opposition brief. So this one should be denied as moot because it's not even, they're asking for an extension to something that they already have and then some. So they're basically calling him out for being kind of dumb. But he's asking for more time because he got a fast schedule for his gag order. But again, Jack Smith says he shouldn't get that because he's getting something few defendants get, which is this quick resolution of, he's getting an expedited briefing. Just because he got the expedited briefing that he wanted, he shouldn't now benefit from it and delay everything, because what they're worried about is that it will actually cause the trial date to move because these things won't be done in time. And that's really the concern that Jack Smith has. But of course, the judge granted in part and denied in part. She gives them until November 22nd for some of the motions and kept November 15th for others. So she kind of compromised, gave him some more time, but isn't moving the trial date, even though this is yet another time Donald Trump is asking for more time. So that's what's going on there with more delays, and just keep an eye on that, right? Let's all just keep an eye on how many times Donald Trump asks for delays, says they need more time, moves things, because, I've said before, it could be death by 1,000 cuts, right? Where you keep, moving this a little, moving that a little. Next thing you know, you have a traffic jam towards the end, and you won't be able to start the trial on time. So just keep yourself informed, know the facts, make your own judgments, but know the facts when you do it. And part of listening to this is to try to just tell you what the facts are, and everyone can make their own decisions, make their own judgment calls about things. But lying should never, ever be part of the equation. So me and my co-anchors from Legal AF, Michael Popak and Ben Meiselas, we try to bring you the facts so that you can formulate your own opinions. Thank you so much for listening. Join us every Wednesday and Friday on Legal AF.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.